Hello everyone, I'm JG. Welcome back to Music Forever, where today we are reviewing Mastodon's new album, Emperor of Sand. Emperor of Sand sees Mastodon evolving themselves further than what they've done before. If I had to describe this album in terms of the sounds of their previous works, think if Blood Mountain and Crack the Sky had a baby, and then that baby had a baby with Once More Around the Sun. That's kind of what this album sounds like in my opinion. A lot of the instrumentation on this album is very progressive metal leaning, like Crack the Sky and even Blood Mountain at times. The vocals here aren't super aggressive as they were on Mastodon's earlier efforts, so if that's what you're looking for, you're probably not going to like this album, but it keeps more with the vocal style that's been present kind of since Crack the Sky and even Blood Mountain also to an extent, just without the more aggressive parts. There's also a lot of Blood Mountain in the sense that some of the instrumentation here is fairly aggressive compared to some of the works on Once More Around the Sun and The Hunter. It works nicely with the progressive elements as well as the clean vocals in my opinion, and it's something new. It's made out of stuff that Mastodon has done before, but the way it's put together is new in and of itself. There's also some moments on this album with very catchy choruses that are very reminiscent of Once More Around the Sun and The Hunter. Some people may not like that, but I personally do. I think when Mastodon wants to pull off a really cool hook, they can, especially on songs like Show Yourself, which some people may not like for that reason, but I do. I like how Troy Sanders' vocals and Brondaler's vocals kind of trade off throughout that song. It's definitely not the most progressive leading song or the heaviest song, but it is, for what it is, it's great. Emperor of Sand is also Mastodon's return to the concept album format, and the story here, it's not related to a particular element like their first four albums. However, there is a, general story going on and a much deeper meaning to it. On the surface, it's about a man who's given a death sentence and is stuck in the desert trying to survive, and eventually he's died and saved simultaneously. You could take a look at the lyrics in more detail to get a more fleshed out version of the story. That's just what it is on the surface level. Though if you look deeper into the lyrics, it's supposed to mirror a cancer patient, and what they have to go through in treatment and trying to survive, stuff like that. And it was inspired by the band members having people close to them suffering from the disease. The band decided to put that into the record, as they usually do with, unfortunate situations in their lives, such as on Crack the Sky or The Hunter, even Once More Around the Sun, have lots of, connections to their own lives and, their own sufferings. But, here, Cancer is the first time where a Mastodon's album's story and concept could connect to me personally, because I've known people with cancer and some of them have died, unfortunately. And, it's just kind of an interesting way to kind of see an album that's about something that you've experienced in your own life. I myself have never had cancer. That's not a definite saying that I never will. I hope I never do, but, kind of seeing an album about something that you've had to deal with and that many people have to deal with because the disease is just so, prominent. If you go your entire life without having experienced cancer or knowing someone who has, you're a pretty lucky person. So yeah, my personal connection to the lyrics on this album is definitely something that's helping me, connect and appreciate this album. But, it also reminds me of Crack the Sky in a sense, which is my favorite Mastodon album, because that album also had a, surface story and then a much deeper meaning to the lyrics. And another thing I like about this album and its concept is just, sort of the whole desert concept and the whole journey of the protagonist as they're stranded in the desert. And this is kind of the first time really since Crack the Sky where I felt kind of, lost in the whole world of this album. It's like the album itself creates this whole, fictional universe, and you just feel lost in it when you're listening to the album. And I felt that way listening to albums like Crack the Sky and Leviathan and Blood Mountain, but I didn't really feel it that much with albums like The Hunter and Once More Around the Sun because they didn't have, cohesive concepts to them. But once again, I'm starting to feel that with this album, and I greatly, enjoy getting lost in this album's fictional universe and just kind of, experiencing all that the album has to offer. As far as the actual music goes on this project, I love how Mastodon are able to pull off some of these really cool progressive moments, such as one of the middle tracks on this album, Roots Remain, definitely a high point in my opinion, as well as the album's closer, Jaguar God, which is one of my favorite Mastodon songs really since anything on Crack the Sky. It's definitely up there in my opinion. It starts off with a slower sound, but builds into this crazy progressive style song that could have easily fit on Crack the Sky in my opinion. I really love the guitar solo on this track, which reminds me that all the guitar solos on this album are phenomenal. Some of the best Mastodon have ever done, in my opinion. None of them sound really samey. They're all different, unique, and have, personalities of their own. Really cool stuff. Alright, back to Jaguar God now, that I've ranted about the solos. Jaguar God, an excellent way to close out this album. It just overall ties the concept of the album, its story, and just even all the sounds. It ties it up all nicely and, leaves the album on a high note. On the other hand, the album's opener, Sultans Curse, is a really nice way to start off this project. I know this was released as a single before the album, but I chose not to listen to any of the singles before this album was released. I kind of wanted to be surprised by what I was going to get. And I'm happy with what I got, because this opener is just kind of a perfect way to set out this album. It reminds me a lot of Oblivion from Crack the Sky in the sense that all three vocalists are kind of, doing their thing here. The track kind of changes up a bit at times. It's not the most, super progressive or super heaviest song that they've ever done, but it kind of melds a whole bunch of different stuff that they do into this one really cool song that kind of starts this journey off. If you're looking for some aggressive stuff on this album, I wouldn't expect it really much in the vocals, but more in the instrumentation. You have some more, close to sludgy leaning instrumentation, just with a very progressive leaning sound to it. Such as on the track Scorpion Breath, which features Scott Kelly of Neurosis, who has appeared on every Mastodon album since Leviathan. I've said this so many times from reviewing all of Mastodon's albums, but he has a great appearance on that track, and, does his normal thing. Some more aggressive moments also appear on tracks like Precious Stones and Clandestiny, Andromeda, all good tracks that have some really aggressive instrumentation, but more clean-leaning vocals, and I really like the mix of the two. We haven't really seen Mastodon do that much. I mean, it has happened from time to time, but, kind of mixing those two and kind of having it be the solid sound of this album throughout is really cool in my opinion. I also really like how Mastodon are still, playing around with their different vocals and stuff like that. I like some of the harmonies here, such as on track Steam Breather, where on the hook of the song we have Troy Sanders and Brian Daylor kind of singing together, and it just makes this really cool chorus that stands out in my opinion. It's definitely one of the best vocal moments on this album overall. The instrumentals on this project, just kind of besides the whole guitar solo aspect and the heaviness, are very good. The guitar riffs and all that are very desert sounding, of course kind of connecting to this album's theme. Very cool. The bass work is great, the drums are great, and something else that I noticed here, I'm not sure if this was on previous Mastodon albums, but sort of the use of the other percussion instruments, things like tambourines and all that sort, besides, your typical drum kit. And the only reason I noticed that was because during their Making of Emperor of Sand series that Mastodon posted on YouTube, they mentioned using all those kind of percussion, and I did notice it a lot here, and it adds a lot of extra, flavor to this album in my opinion. Really cool stuff. Overall, I had high hopes for this album given its concept and the fact that Mastodon's one of my favorite bands, and I don't feel like I was let down with this product. I think it's the best work that they've done since Crack the Sky, and if I were to rank all my Mastodon albums as in from least to favorite, this would definitely be a high up there, close to the favorite side of it. I'm not exactly sure where it would exactly land, but it'd be close to favorite. Maybe I'll do a video someday ranking all their albums, but this is a great album overall. If you're a fan of Mastodon, you need to check this out because it takes old sounds that they've done and mixes them in new ways, creating an overall new product that is overall just fantastic. If you're one of those people that only likes the super heavy Mastodon or Remission and Leviathan, then maybe this isn't exactly what you want. But if you're someone that liked the really progressive side of them that was shown on Crack the Sky, and you haven't quite been on board with their last two albums because they weren't quite as progressive, then maybe you should jump back on with this album and see what it's going to give you, because you may very much like it considering the amount of progressive elements that are, present here. But yeah, overall, fantastic release from Mastodon. I can't recommend this album enough. It's definitely going to stay in rotation for me over the next few months, in next year, probably the rest of my life. Thank you for joining me here today. As I said before, if you're a huge Mastodon fan, make sure to check out the reviews I did for all their other albums. I have the playlist linked at the end of the video, as I said before. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this review, because we're going to have more album reviews, all kinds of music-related stuff coming soon, so you don't want to miss out on that. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Comment if you have anything to say. Thank you for watching. Check out this album because it's fantastic. And stay golden.